Hello, this is Iron Bill back again with another video, and today is Monday, the 25th of March, and I guess I want to do kind of a post-mortem on the weekend, the final time. I know I said this in yesterday's video that I was kind of covering the action, and actually I had some new revelations since that point in time, and part of that happened as a result of discussion on the chat here, and I guess you would call it discussion area of the channel, and I want to highlight a particular comment from Jamus Wolfgang, if I'm saying it in German. I don't know if he's German or not. Jamus Wolfgang, James Wolfgang in English. Anyway, we were talking about some of the discussion had been about how it seemed like the persistence card was a lot harder than other cards like a mercy card or a wealth card. And the light bulb just went off, and I thought, you know what? I bet since the persistence card, essentially after you get 2 wins on it, you can't flaw it. You're always in the challenger pool. Whereas if I decide to play a mercy card and it gets flawed, I get tossed into the practice pool, and I can continue to play on and get rewards and such. But upon wins, but I will be in a lower bracket of players essentially, and the same thing for wealth, except wealth gives you, of course, more XP after 7 wins for your rank up. So, there are definitely advantages to going those cards, but it hadn't occurred to me that, even if you lost a bunch, that you would remain in the challenger pool for the persistence card. And of course it's so, but it's not one of those things that you would immediately think of. And I'd just been remarking to my friends over and over how difficult it was to do that solo at my level. They didn't see it that way because they can go solo, flawless on any card. They're that good. And I'll show you some of that here in a little bit. But so anyway, in the course of this discussion, here's what came to light. And this kind of solidified it for good. He says, Trials Matchmaking was overhauled and now follows this style. Challenger Pool. Newly acquired passages or those without losses are placed in this pool. Features connection-based matchmaking. Fair enough. Practice Pool. Passages with losses are placed in this pool. Features skill-based matchmaking with stomp and farming protection mitigating lost streaks. Okay, indeed, persistence keeps you in the challenger pool even if you lose a bunch because your card essentially cannot be flawed after 2 wins. I'd question the connection-based matchmaking as I got quite a bit of shenanigans in there. Okay, so I don't know whether or not it's truly skill-based matchmaking once you drop it in that pool. Maybe it is. I don't know. But at the very least, I do know that you remain in the challenger pool no matter what in the persistence card so long as it's not flawed, and that is a harder path. So how does that impact whether or not you should go for a persistence card or not? That's a personal decision, and I want to show you some of my stats. Probably shouldn't do this, but I'm going to on this character to show you what we're dealing with here. Now, my overall KD, it's really taking a dive on my Warlock right now because I'm experimenting, and apparently some of the things that I'm working on really impact that. But I'm typically about a 1.28 to 137. This is my normal range if I'm playing like something I'm used to and regular and not doing any experimentation. And you might say, well, that makes me a pretty good player. But the thing you got to remember is that's skill-based matchmaking if I'm doing quick play and control, which means I'm not seeing the high-end players. So, as Samuel Clemens said, there are lies, damned lies, and statistics. And that was his tongue-in-cheek way of saying statistics can be manipulated. And in this case, they clearly are. I am not that good of a player. I'm just not. At least not as a trials player. And if I were tossed into the deep end of the pool, these stats wouldn't look anywhere near this good. And you can look at my trial stats for the week. Well, overall, I'm a 5.75 ELO. I'm a nightmare to have on your team in terms of my stats. On the opposing team, if they look me up, they're going to say, let's just run straight at that guy because they know I'm going to be an easy meal. 0.46 KD. I don't know what this is, but I do know what this is. And that is pretty poor. And that's what happens when I'm really tossed in with the top end players. Now, by comparison, this is Tillman Charm, the guy that you see me play with occasionally, and he does occasionally play my Iron Bill account too. Um, he is a top 5% player, and his ELO is 1800, and he's actually hurting his stats by playing with me. I mean, he's actually a better player than that. He was over 2 KD, uh, all weekend long on his own. Playing with me, well, that changed a bit. So, but this is basically his overall stats right now. Great player. Could I, on any planet in any universe, take on a player at his level and have a chance of succeeding? No, absolutely not. And so I don't get all caught up in saying, "Hey, I'm a good player. Something's wrong with the matchmaking." It's just that if you are constantly in the kiddie pool with skill-based matchmaking, which I am, then I'm not going to see the truth until I'm actually out in the wider body of players. And that can be a source of frustration for people who are jumping into trials thinking that they're better than they really are. And that leads me to the next thing. And I have a friend of mine, or a clanmate, who's really upset about the way this is all going right now. And I don't blame him. But I said, look, I mean, we got to be careful not to do something here. And we've got to remember that we have goals and we have expectations. And for the rest of this video, I'm going to go ahead and play some background video because I've got the stats out of the way, and I think that it'll be more interesting to see this going in the background. Anyway, we've got to be careful to temper our expectations. We can have goals, but goals are not expectations. These are not the same thing. I can say my goal is to someday make the lighthouse, but if I expect to make the lighthouse this week, all I've done is set myself up for a failure because that's just not reasonable. If you consider my stats and the kind of player that I truly am, my PvP stats in regular quick play are not a true reflection of who I am. By the same token, because of RNG matchmaking in trials, my poor representation isn't really a true representation either. I mean, I'm somewhere in the middle. So the way I choose to look at this is I've got to go at this from the approach of just getting better. That's the short-term goal. Can I improve my play? Can I work on things to make me a better player? Yes, I can do that. I can review the tape. I can have friends watch me play. They can remark on my play. They're both top 5% players. If they say I'm improving, I accept that. And that's a good thing. I realize we don't all have access to that, but if you do, I strongly advise you have somebody better than you watch your play, share it if you can, and help you. Just let them help you. Don't have an ego about it. All right. Now, next thing. The way I would set goals as a coach is I would set 3 goals. I would set the immediate goal, the midterm goal, and the long-term goal. And I would say, okay, so if I'm coaching a running team, I would say we want to get to state meet. That's our end goal. That is our long-term goal. Our short-term goal is to improve our times this week. Our mid-range goal is to have our best time of the season when it matters, that we taper well. And then, yes, of course, ultimately get to the state meet and do things there. If I'm applying that methodology here, my short-term goal is to improve the things that I'm doing really wrong. My midterm goal, I suppose, would be to be more involved in competitive and trials play. Just get in there and do it, and just take what comes. Grab a card, stick with it. Long-range goal, of course, is to build towards a lighthouse run. Okay, and in that vein, a lot of you have volunteered to take me to the lighthouse. Well, you just saw my stats. That's probably not a realistic goal at this point in time. I thank you for, the ask and the willingness to carry me, but I feel really bad when people try to pull me through that, and we just get pounded match after match, and it's usually, because it's game of inches, and I'm going to make that mistake right at the critical moment. And so I'm not going to be real quick to jump on those offers to do lighthouse runs at this point in time. I'd like a few more weeks to kind of get my feet under me, and so that I'm playing actually better, get used to something that works and try some things out, and not feel pressured to do something I'm really not ready to do. And that's going to keep me in a better attitude about the whole thing too. It's not going to make me feel like I'm just a failure because I'm not ready to do something I'm trying to do yet. It's something I wish I could communicate to my clanmate. I tried really hard. It's like, look, just try to grow, and see where it goes from there. I don't think I was very successful with that, but it is what it is. So we're at 10 and a half minutes here, and I don't want to drag this on too long because of the type of video it is. Oh, and by the way, this team that we're playing here, I put this in here so you can see just how mismatched this is. And this brings up the final point that I would make. This whole persistence card thing. Given the way that it works, I don't know that I would recommend to a low-end player to take that route. I think it's a mistake, to be honest. Because, to be honest, what Bungie has done is given false hope. What they've said is, if you keep playing, you'll get to the adept weapon. That's probably not realistically true. Realistically, and in quick play, my stats would suggest that I'm a better than average player, but when I'm in the full pool, I'm probably just an average or just below average player. The person to whom I assume Bungie is targeting with the persistence card, and I can tell you, it is far less frustrating to just push that aside and to run a wealth card or a mercy card and just hope for the best. Because the thing that Bungie doesn't tell you is, with the RNG nature of matchmaking, because there's nothing to it, it's basically they just toss players in, where they land, they land. The chances of you consistently having enough good players on your team to carry you if you're at my level, it's extremely RNG. And you're just not going to probably be able to make that. And to show you, I'm going to show you one more thing, and this will probably be where I stop. We need to check this out. Right here. Here are my trials matches for the week. Look at how many green dots there aren't. It was just a pummeling. And some of those were matches where I was playing with other people. And it was just a tough go. Oh, and I want to point something else out too that I was confused about. I saw these zeros here and I thought, what in the world's going on there? I got kills. I mean, I was involved in the match. And it turns out my buddy is very quick to jump into the next match. And he doesn't wait for the match results to come in. And when you do that, it zeroes you out. So I'm putting this in here in case you're running persistence cards. That's how you flaw them, without realizing. You could win your games, but if you jump to the next match too soon, it's going to zero you out. And I kept telling him, said, don't do that, but he did. And after a while, I didn't care. It didn't matter. I could tell he was getting frustrated with me and all that, and I didn't want to make life any harder than I had to. But again, I would point out, when that happens, guess what happens to your trial stats? They go down. It really drags your score down. So I'm bad. Probably not that bad, but I'm bad. Okay? I'm a hard carry for anyone. I appreciate all the calls to help. I will take you up on those at some point in time. I don't think right now is the time for me to be pushing for a lighthouse carry, I guess, is what I'm thinking. I'll play with anybody that wants to play and just be chill. I mean, I enjoy playing with people. But I'm not going to put the expectation on anyone, myself included, that we're going to get to the lighthouse. Because, as I told my clanmate, frustration is the result of unrealized expectations. And so we need to be careful to put in realistic expectations. And then we're going to have a lot more fun playing this game. All right, with that said, this is Iron Bill thanking you for watching and signing out.